Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this video here on Show Style and Spirit. I am Ebony, of course, and as you can see from the title of this video, I will be giving my commentary, my opinion on Monique Samuels' latest live, where she talked about her marriage coming to an end. She is divorced, and she talked about reality TV and its involvement, and she was mum's the word when it came to Love and Marriage DC and Carlos King. And she also talked about, people perhaps perceiving her as a gold digger because she married an NFL player. I feel like she is just a machine for great sound bites and can really provoke some good conversation. So that's why I wanted to make this video. So before we get into it all, I ask that you please hit the like button on this video. Then YouTube will recommend this video to more people who love to discuss reality TV as well as romantic relationships. And if you have not already done so, please subscribe to Show Style and Spirit. I would definitely love to have you. And everything that I'm saying in this video is alleged and just my opinion. And the Copyright Act of 1976 says that my fair use commentary on these sound bites are allowed. And a heads up, Monique's bird was chiming in as well, making really cute sounds. Her dog was asleep. If you all follow Monique Samuels on Instagram, you know that she is definitely an animal lover and she loves to travel. If you follow her on Instagram, you definitely know those two things. But let's go ahead and get started. So, again, Monique Samuels is just great at expressing herself very clearly, vividly, exactly what she's trying to say. So it's just really good for conversation starters. So let's go ahead and talk about the question, did reality TV lead to her divorce? So she was allowing people to ask her questions. She would highlight it, read the question out loud, and then answer. So let's go ahead and find out what Monique has to say.
Changes easily, especially when it comes to anyone, especially myself who has autism. Yeah, change is definitely difficult. Do you think reality TV played a part or a role in your divorce? Actually, and it's so funny, I actually told this story in an interview. Reality TV actually extended the life of our marriage. At the point where I joined Real Housewives of Potomac, Chris and I were not in a good space. Like, we weren't. I was very fed up. I never said the D word, though. And honestly, when I told him that I wanted a divorce, that was the first time ever that I used the D word. I didn't play with that. We would get into arguments and he would be like, oh, we might as well just get a divorce. I don't use divorce as a weapon. I don't use that word as a weapon. When I got married, I really felt like I was going to be in the marriage forever. Like, you couldn't tell me otherwise. So when we started reality TV, I was at a point where I was just like, this is just not cutting it. I had been complaining about the same things. And the same things that I had complained about back then, I was still complaining about, which ended up ultimately leading to the divorce. It was just difference of personalities, difference of needs, and not being able to meet each other's needs in the way that you should in a marriage. But honestly, reality TV gave us something else to focus on. It actually gave us a united front. Whenever those women were coming at me crazy, it actually pulled us together. So once reality TV went away, then here comes Love and Marriage DC. At that point, it was like erupting. It was like all of the things that we actually put on hold from the time that we were doing Real Housewives of Potomac in our marriage, we focused on so many other things that just went out the window. So once that was gone, once the dust started settling and the smoke started clearing, then all of those things that we had put on the back burner started showing their ugly faces again. So yeah, I don't believe or feel as though reality TV played a role in our divorce. It's just it is what it is. It happened.
Okay, so interestingly, Monique Samuels said that reality TV did not play a part in her marriage ending in divorce. She feels like being on two reality TV shows actually extended the life of her marriage. She even pointed out that when she first joined The Real Housewives of Potomac season 2, that she and Chris Samuels were not in a good place. That was a shock to me because I felt like her marriage's portrayal on The Real Housewives of Potomac was much more pleasant than it was on Love and Marriage DC. And I remember the promos for season 1 of Love and Marriage DC. Monique Samuels was saying in the commercial, get to know the real Monique on Love and Marriage DC. She kept emphasizing that we were going to get to know the real Monique on LAMDC and that we had not seen that on Potomac. So that message was in the back of my mind when I was watching the episodes, and she seemed to be extremely irritated with her husband. You know, he'd be trying to have conversation with her, and she would tell him, like, you know, you're not really changing or growing, and you know, you're no longer an athlete, and you know, you have to develop some new habits. And she would just seem so irritable with him. I'm like, so is this the real Monique? She kept saying we're going to get to know the real Monique. Like, is she mean? Is she mean to her husband? You know, I wasn't getting it. I'm like, well, I guess you were faking when you all were pleasant on Potomac, and then now you're really bitchy, and that's who you are. It created a lot of confusion actually, because that's how she led being on Love and Marriage DC. You're going to get to know the real Monique. And then the betrayal of their marriage was completely opposite of how it was depicted on The Real Housewives of Potomac. So then also with her saying that reality TV extended her marriage, and this is just my opinion, it's almost giving like she was hanging in there because she was on a show titled The Real Housewives of Potomac. So she was hanging in there in a marriage that she wasn't fully satisfied so that she could be a housewife and fit that show. And then same thing once she joined Love and Marriage DC. And so, you know, it's just giving like it may have been for appearance's sake. Now we're going to get into this very short soundbite when someone in the chat asked her about Love and Marriage DC and Carlos King. And then we're going to take a trip down memory lane because I just really want to talk about the last time she went live on her YouTube channel. So you may remember what she was addressing. So I will go ahead and play this soundbite and I'll be right back.
Why, you know, he was scared to open up. Upbringing probably has a lot to do with it. I've been a talker. My whole family, we're all talkers. So yes. Yes. I do not have someone ask any thoughts on Love and Marriage DC and Carlos King. I have no thoughts. None.
Okay, so she said, you know, what are your thoughts on Love and Marriage DC and Carlos King? And then Monique Samuel says, I have no thoughts. And then she moves on to the next comment or question. I've always felt like for a very long time now that she and Carlos must have agreed that she would never comment on her experience of being on Love and Marriage DC, and he in exchange would never comment on how he felt about her leaving so abruptly in the very beginning of filming for season 2 of Love and Marriage DC. I felt like, this was my opinion. I'm going to tell you my opinion at the time when it was announced that she would not be returning to Love and Marriage DC. At the time, I thought that Monique wanted a lot of editing and creative control over her depiction on Love and Marriage DC, and she wanted her contract to reflect that. Monique did say briefly during an interview that she had certain expectations for her contract, and she said that the contract wasn't straight, it was crooked. and I could not sign it. So at that time, I thought, oh, yeah, you wanted creative control. You did not like it that we saw you as being a mean girl to your husband, and you wanted to make sure that the edit was in your favor. That was what I thought at the time when it was announced ahead of season 2 that she would not be returning. And what added to that was the last time that Monique Samuels went live on her YouTube channel, she went live to say that it was untrue what People magazine reported, which was that she and Chris Samuels were separated. They were living in like separate, because they're, I guess, like one of their properties had like almost like a guest house or something. People magazine was reported like they weren't living under the same physical roof and they were headed to divorce. And she said that that was all untrue. And that's why I'm paraphrasing that, she really doesn't fool around with People magazine because they report things like that. And, Chris was sitting beside her. And then lo and behold, like a year and a half ago, they announced that they were getting divorced. I always felt like what People magazine reported was true. Again, she just did not want that publication reporting it. And I felt like it's getting out and she hasn't started filming season 2 of Love and Marriage DC. So she's cleaning it up. But then another curveball was thrown because it was announced that she was not returning to Love and Marriage DC. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder, did Carlos King get mad at her because it got out to People magazine? It was just really, really odd and bizarre. But then after Queen Sheba interviewed Winter Harris, and Winter disclosed that they were paid up to $2,500 per episode, then I had the revelation. I said, oh my gosh, that is why she did not agree to film season 2, because she knew that her marriage was ending and she definitely felt like she deserved to be paid more money to tell that story. And there was no room in the budget to meet Monique Samuels' demand. So once Winter Harris laid that out for us with Queen Sheba, then I was like, okay, that is why she did not return for season 2 of that show. So I want to also talk about something that Monique said. I thought this was interesting. It actually made me think instantly of Tisha and Marceau. So I'm just going to play this soundbite and then I will come back with my commentary.
With everything. They do. Trust me, they do. So when everybody else on social media or, that saw us on TV, reality TV, and then they think that they know the ins and outs of my previous marriage. And it's like, no, you don't. You saw what I allowed you to see. And if I want you to see a perfect picture, of course you're going to see that. Who's going to get on TV and just throw their marriage under the bus? Like, nobody does that. Like, when you're in a marriage, your goal is to make sure each other looks good, right? So that's what it was. We're not going to just openly put all of our issues out there. There were times that we definitely did and we discussed them. But yeah, it's like nobody wants to have a marriage that's perceived to be messy. Of course, you're going to see the pictures on Instagram that are going to look like we're all so happy and getting along. Who's going to post the bad stuff? Like, that doesn't make sense. I'm going to post us having an argument. I'm going to post me crying. No, that doesn't make sense. Nobody does that. So yeah. But yeah, the kids definitely see and know the real deal. And that's why they were able 2 months later to say, Mommy, you look so much happier and you have more energy. Like, they were able to see it.
Okay, so she talked about you show the viewers of a reality TV show, you show your followers on your social media what you want them to see. She said that no couple is going to show them having arguments, being in disagreement, not being on the same page, not being in the best, most positive place for their marriage. She was like, who does that? Then she goes, nobody does that. And I instantly thought of Tisha and Marceau. and how, according to Tisha, she always insists that no one has presented her with any evidence of there being an indiscretion. I feel like she may be blocking that opportunity to see the light, just in my opinion. But she says that no one has brought her any evidence. And, you know, the most that we see is Marceau gaslighting her after he criticizes Tisha on camera, and she tries to defend herself until he starts gaslighting and gaslighting, manipulating, and then she's in tears. Hence the "your family is from the other side of the tracks." That scene is like really tough to watch. But in any event, Monique Samuels insists that when you are in front of the camera and you are married and you have thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers on your social media, you present what you want people to see. And so perception is reality. And I just thought that was very interesting for her to say that. And then she said that it makes no sense to show your struggles in your relationship. She said it made no sense to show that, although that would be the truth, right? That would be the reality. So I am I'm like bewildered over that. Like, if it is your reality, why wouldn't you show that? And why does that not make sense to you? So I just found that to be oh so interesting. And then, you know, people asked her if she had any insecurities about being married to a multimillionaire. We all know that Chris Samuels played football, and, you know, people may perceive the spouse as being like a gold digger. And she admitted to having that insecurity. This is what she had to say.
Oh, this is a good question. This is a good question. Did you feel like you had to prove yourself because he was in the NFL and people continued to say you were gold digging? Absolutely. It was almost like I'm not accepting help. I'm not like I wasn't like a big shopper. But that's naturally who I am. Like I'm not a person that needs a bunch of stuff. Honestly, I didn't even carry purses when Chris and I first started dating. The only reason I started carrying purses is because he bought them for me. But I could not stand because, like, for me, I'm like, I'm in love with the man. I'm not in love with what he does or what he can provide. So it irritated me that was even like the tone. And people who knew me, they were like, please, Moni don't care about anything like that. But that was something that also was something that needed to be proven. Even for myself with him, I always felt like I was proving to him that I wanted him and not his bank account. And that was something like always in the back of my mind. I felt as though I couldn't sit down and relax because who are you to sit down and relax? Because he busts his butt on the field and provided this for you. So you need to work. So that was like, it's such a jacked up mindset, but that's some real stuff right there.
Okay, so she said, you know, she felt like she could not ask for help. So I assume meaning not hire a housekeeper or a nanny. And then she felt like she couldn't really shop. She said she's not really a shopper anyway, but I guess she was concerned about being judged if she went out shopping all the time or buying expensive things. And, you know, I guess that's the difference between her and some other women that would marry athletes if they could, and they would not care. Like, I feel like some of the women on Basketball Wives, they would have never said those words. They would have never produced that soundbite for a journalist or a blogger like myself. They would not care about if they were perceived as a gold digger, and they would not let them stop them. They would not let that stop them from hiring the nanny and the housekeeper and the landscaper and a personal assistant, okay? And they're definitely going to shop and be dressed to the nines all the time, as well as the kids that they're definitely going to push out. So I think that says a lot, you know, about she wanted to make sure that she was holding up a certain image. She does talk about in this live about the person she was that married Chris was a people pleaser. And then after she just started to get to really know herself, really love herself, then she wasn't that same person. She was not the kind of person that would have, stayed married to Chris, so to speak. That was how I interpreted what she said. But I just thought that to be so interesting because I've watched Basketball Wives for years and years. And going back to when Drea was on the show and Angel Brinks, the first time she was on there. So I just don't recall any of those women talking about being concerned about being perceived as a gold digger and watching their spending and making sure that they did not hire a staff, to assist them. But what do you all think about that? If you were related to an athlete, and you're seeing the person, and I'll admit, I think that I would naturally want to very much so get to know this person to protect my athlete cousin or sibling. Because yeah, instantly I would wonder like, okay, I want to make sure that they love him and not just the money. I do want to see, what's their conversation like? Maybe not so much. I'm not really trying to count their money because I can't stand that. I think that's super stupid and annoying. But I would want to see, who are they? What are their beliefs? What are their goals? Do they want kids? How would they raise them? Are they going to get them baptized? Do they believe in whooping kids? Where did they go to school? What did they do for work? Will they keep working? I would want to try to get inside their heads and get to know them and then try to use that info to see if they are a gold digger. But I just thought that was so interesting that she did disclose that. And then, people asked her, they said, you seem so calm and at peace not being on television. What was the lesson that you learned from being in the physical fight with Candace Dillard Bassett from the Warehouse Wives of Potomac? And this is what Monique Samuels had to say.
It's funny. Yes. I'm gonna pull this one up because this actually is the really good question. What was the one thing you learned from your physical altercation? I feel like you've grown so much from that. Have you allowed anyone to get under you that much again? This was important because people always want to know, what was the moment that kicked off your spiritual journey? That was it. And you know why? It's because I felt as though I was a person that was very much in control of myself. And that night, I completely lost control. And I was pissed at myself. I was devastated with myself. And then I went to the back and forth. Now you got the whole social media. You got to act like it's not a big deal. Then you got to still film. And then there was so much going on. And I had to sit back and be like, yo, who am I? What is happening here? And that leads me to the self-challenge. So let me tell you about the self-challenge. So basically, the self-challenge is an open discussion that provides real-life stories of how all of us can truly grow, be in alignment with our purpose, promote self-discovery, self-love, rid yourself of ego, and realize your potential.
Okay, so she talked about when she fought Candace Dillard Bassett, and there was the whole, you still have to film with this person, then you have to try and hold back on social media. This sounds like, pretty much guidelines from the network. She said that she realized she lost self-control and she had to ask herself, who was she? And then she let that be the lead in to what she has created, the self-challenge. I assume she created it. I don't know if a therapist has, but this is the guide to her going live on her YouTube channel every week. She will be giving everyone homework, so to speak. So the first homework lesson is to write down, answer the question, who am I? And she said that you're much deeper than, oh, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a child of God. She's like, those are almost like titles that people attach to. And she poses the question, who are you? And of course, I thought about Dr. Francis from Love and Marriage Huntsville. When I interviewed him, Dr. Francis said that throughout our entire lives, we're going to always answer that question, who am I? because you may go out and explore this earth that we live on or in, and um, you may find that you love different foods. You may find that you enjoy spending time with different types of people that you hadn't thought of when you were a kid growing up. There's always going to be all sorts of things that you discover about yourself. And she said she's going to come on every week, and there will be, basically it sounds like it's going to be like life coaching, therapeutic exercises, and conversation. That totally seems like that's Monique's alley, so I'm pretty sure that she will definitely enjoy it. She said that she is a homebody. She loves her new home. Obviously, I assume she and Chris sold the marital home and perhaps split the net proceeds, but she bought her own place. She said she is not in Potomac. She said she cannot afford to live in Potomac. So she had to get a home that she said met all of her needs within her price range. So that meant not living in Potomac. So I definitely enjoyed the conversation. That therapeutic life coaching, self-help type of convo is definitely my thing. And so I definitely wanted to give my commentary on it and share it with you all, of course. And I thank you so much for checking out this video. Please hit the like button on this video, as it is a free way of supporting the channel. And please subscribe to Show Style and Spirit if you have not already done so. And yes, we are nearing the weekend. I am oh so excited. And I hope that you are having a good day so far. If it's been rough, I hope that maybe you can have a good lunch, maybe sit in your car and read some of your favorite things to read, or watch something uplifting on Instagram or YouTube on your lunch break, or maybe read your favorite Bible scriptures, whatever it is, and try to have something like healthy, like a salad and maybe like a smoothie with like blueberries and yogurt and superfoods that can give you a new burst of energy. And I will talk with you all very soon. Bye.